and I could hear the barking, and it began to sound threatening, or either she had found something and was trying to tree an animal, trying to get toward an animal, or an animal was trying to attack her. And the more I listened, the more I could hear her actually in a defensive or fearful sounding bark. And it was just chaos sounding. I mean, it wasn't just one or two, it was just almost nonstop. So, like I said, she was totally out of sight. I wanted to help if I could, or detangle her if she was involved with some other kind of animal. There are wildcats, there are small bears and raccoons that all can threaten a dog. So I wanted to try to find her, so I went and kept running toward the sound, where I actually heard this yelping sound. And I got where I still couldn't see her through the brush, because there's a very dense underbrush in this area, in this forest. But I could hear that I was close. I was probably within 50 to 75 feet of her. And I dropped my backpack that I had, and I picked up a branch that happened to be laying on the ground that was about 6 or 7 feet long and about the width of a baseball bat. And I thought, I can at least defend her off of some, animal that she's obviously engaged with. But I couldn't hear any other sounds of any other animals, but I just heard her barking and yelping, like she was either being bitten or threatened. So I ran toward the sound, and I kind of ran down a hill and over a little rise, and just as I went over the next rise, I found myself face to face with this creature, this small, childlike in size creature that at the moment, because of the darkness of the canopy, the tree canopy, I couldn't make out all of the features. I could see that it was dark, almost black in color, shaded. It had a head, it had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso, and my dog seemed to be attached to it, like it had bitten the arm of this creature. But the second I saw this creature grab my dog, which was attached to her arm, and start throwing my dog over its head like it weighed nothing. Well, my dog weighed 100 pounds. It was a golden retriever, 7-year-old golden retriever. It's a big dog. Well, this was being thrown back and forth so quickly, like there was no weight at all. And the second I even got that in my mind, it stopped. The thing looked at me, kind of made this hissy scream, and then literally ripped my dog's head apart at the jaw, tearing her head right in half, and her body and blood and tissue flowing all over her body and onto the ground. After witnessing my dog being torn apart, I didn't think. I didn't have any premeditation. I just jumped forward and acted, struck out with this branch and hit it as hard as I could, trying to kill it because of what I just witnessed, it killing my dog. I didn't know if it was going to attack me next. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what it was. And I didn't take any time to contemplate that. A lot of people have asked, well, why didn't you take some time to figure this out? This all happened in a matter of 10 to 12 seconds at the most, from the time I came over the rise until I struck it. And if you would have witnessed what it was doing to my dog, I'm sure anyone would have tried to stop that action. Right after that happened, when I hit it, it fell to the ground and screamed as it started to fall. And I screamed too. In fear, in desperation, I don't know, in anger, because I was angry about what I saw. But instantly I was sick. I fell to the ground, on my knees, on my hands. I couldn't breathe right. I felt like there was a pressure on my chest. I was starting to hyperventilate. I was sick to my stomach. I couldn't control my bowels or my bladder. Everything let go at once. And if anybody's ever had any part of that condition, you know how you feel. You know that you are just absolutely paralyzed in that moment with a crippling sickness. Well, I'd never been that sick, ever, in my life. I didn't know what was going on. Because everything happened so fast, so quickly. I'd never experienced anything like that feeling in my body, let alone something that ripped my dog apart. Now, some people have said, well, maybe it was a psychosis that you had, an illusion. Maybe something happened that was really too psychologically damaging that you couldn't recognize the reality of what was going on. Like maybe my dog had been killed by a bear, and my mind just recreated this fantasy. Well, I know that isn't true. I've played it over and over in my mind. I've tried to rationalize it away. I've tried to, at the moment it happened, I tried to deny that any of this was happening. I didn't want to believe that I was in this state, in this physical condition, that I had witnessed it. And I was sick, I was on the ground, I couldn't get up, my muscles were like paralyzed in the point that I had no strength to get up. And everything seemed foreign, everything seemed strange at that moment. I mean, the ground felt spongy instead of normal, like normal dirt and rocks. It felt like mud, like thick mud, like I almost couldn't move in the air. The density of the air had changed. Even the temperature, even the sounds, the normal sounds in the forest were gone. How could this be happening? I kept asking myself, what is this? Is this the condition of my being sick? My body is in such peril? Am I dying for some reason? I mean, I was a doctor. I was a medical doctor. I understand that your body can go into trauma and go into shock and create situations that you can't rationalize out. And I was trying to imagine this must be what is happening to me. This actually must be what is happening. But the fact that I would turn around and there within 3 feet of my face was this thing that had killed my dog. And now I could see that it wasn't a child, and I could see its face, I could see the blood from its skull where I had hit it, that it had breached its skull. There was cranial matter literally laying on its skin and on the ground beneath it. And there was a lot of blood. It wasn't moving, it wasn't breathing, and as far as I was concerned, it was dead. And I was happy that it was dead. But I was still in this peril of health. I just couldn't stop hyperventilating. And I knew that unless I slowed my breathing down, I would go into shock. So I tried to control my breathing. I actually tried to force myself to calm down, but as soon as I would do that, my mind would jump ahead and I'd start breathing again, really, really hard. And I'd try to crawl around and try to get up, and then I'd fall back down. I'd lean against a tree and I'd fall back down. And then I don't know how long I was there. It felt like a long time at first, but then again it felt very quick. But I had been on my knees for what felt like an hour, and I heard a sound. I heard another sound. And at that moment, all the sound was silent. It was like somebody had put a lid over the top of this area, where normally you would hear the sound of the wind or the birds in the trees. There was nothing. So either my ears and my own hearing had stopped functioning normally, or something actually had silenced this area. Now, I wasn't rationalizing this like I'm talking to you now. I wasn't thinking that, gee, maybe this or maybe that could be happening. I was in panic because I thought I was dying. I mean, that's what my mind was telling me. My body is in crisis. But I heard this other sound, and I thought, oh, it's somebody, it's another person. It's a hiker, and maybe they can help me because I really needed help. So I tried to stand up and I'd fall back down. I tried to walk a few steps, I'd fall back down and I'd crawl. And I could hear this sound, this ebbing, kind of wavering harmonic tone. And I thought, well, maybe it's somebody with a radio, like a boombox, like somebody's got some CDs playing. And I kept listening and I kept searching with my eyes and my ears